Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Nikitinaknits. My name is Evgeniya and in this video we're speaking about men's knitting patterns. I was waiting for this video for so long because in summer, one of the wonderful viewers, she has messaged me on Instagram and requested this type of video. And I promised her that I will be recording such video in autumn, so people are kind of thinking already what to knit for their loved ones for the Christmas time. And as usually, this is a personal list of patterns, so they're my favorite patterns that I would knit for my husband, for my father, and for my uncle. Every single pattern I'm going to discuss in depth, so you know about the construction, how it's knit, the yarn that is recommended, and my own reflection on that. Would I use it or would I substitute it with something? So by the end of this video, you don't only have the name of the pattern and saved favorite on Ravelry, but you have a whole idea and a rough viewpoint on how everything is working up, so you can start with confidence. One of these patterns I'm actually wearing right now. This is a hoodie I knitted for my husband, and I'm going to be speaking about this pattern in this list, of course, because it's gorgeous, it's brilliant. So grab your knitting, grab your favorite drink, in my case is some chai latte, and let's discuss some of my most favorite men's knitting patterns. The first one is Alessandro Sweater by Kruglik the Knitter. Kruglik the Knitter is a Korean designer that releases quite nice designs, all available in English, and I'm in love with so many patterns from her. I do think that she has some technical background or just a lot of knowledge on how to create really nice designs that fit well. Alessandro Sweater is a very practical, wearable and warm sweater, yet it looks very elegant and classy. So if you knit it, it could be wearable for so many years because there are no explicit design features. It's a very classic fit with a slightly dropped shoulders, so the seam doesn't go exactly on top of the shoulder, but just kind of diagonally crossing the shoulder. The armhole is quite deep enough for movement and freedom to not sweat into the sweater, but it's not so long so it could bother when the man is going to wear a jacket or a coat. Also, I like the very round but quite high neckline, so since this sweater is designed to be very warm, very thick, I don't want the neckline to be open and, you know, get a lot of air in. So this is a perfect winter sweater. What I like about such sweaters, we can just buy the pattern, knit one as a basic piece, and then keep on knitting different versions of such. For example, add some color work in the bottom and in the sleeves if we desire so. Maybe experiment with the yarns and texture. For example, knit one in tweed yarn, then knit one in marled yarn, combining 3 different colors together to achieve a very interesting fabric. To knit one very soft one next to skin, to knit one very harsh one to, I don't know, work in the garden or just wear out in the mountains with a backpack. So depending on your desire and fantasy, this sweater could become anything that we want. We can also experiment by adding different ribbing. 2x2 ribbing, 3x1, 1x1, a double knitting. Any little details could change the whole look of this gorgeous sweater. This is a warm, thick sweater that is knit on 5.5mm needles that is going to go by so fast, which is so nice and so satisfying to knit a whole garment quite quick for someone that you love. And it's knit with 2 strands of yarn, which is heavy merino by Knitting for Olive and compatible cashmere from Knitting for Olive as well. So heavy merino, I think, is a worsted weight yarn, and compatible cashmere is a lace weight yarn. So in my case, I would go with Knitting for Olive heavy merino, but I would not go with compatible cashmere. First, because compatible cashmere is a combed cashmere, so that means the very long fiber were quite tightly spun in together, so it doesn't give that very fuzzy, very cashmere-like effect. And when you're knitting with this, you're feeling like you're just knitting with some very soft merino, but you're paying a very high price for this cashmere. And the second reason is that I've heard not the best reviews of such cashmere. Already a few people actually messaged me and they said that this cashmere is losing a lot of fibers when you're knitting with this, when you're blocking it, when you're wearing it. I just don't feel like paying this amount of money for this type of cashmere. So what I would do, I would use Knitting for Olive heavy merino and combine it with Pasquale cashmere lace. So Pasquale cashmere lace is almost the same meterage. I think it's 170 meters per 25 grams, but the texture, look at this texture. It is so fluffy. It is so soft. Like even through the picture, you can already feel how cloudy it is, how feather-like it is going to be towards your skin. So I just hope that those fibers are going to open up after blocking every time more and more, and they're going to cover up the roughness of knitting for olive heavy merino. So we're getting a lot of sturdiness from knitting for olive heavy merino, and we're getting a lot of softness and a lot of warmth from Pasquale cashmere lace. Pasquale is a gorgeous company that focuses on producing high quality luxurious yarns, and I'm actually an affiliate with them. I'm partnering, so that means if you're buying the yarn through my link, I'm going to receive a small commission at no cost for you. I will actually leave the link to this cashmere in the description box, so if you're interested you can just go and check it out. It is gorgeous. It's my dream yarn to try. I just love cashmere. I should be careful to not spend all of my money for that. Anyways, this was Alessandro Sweater by Cookie the Knitter, and I hope you can knit it out one day. Alright, should we move on to something I'm wearing right now? I think we should. This is a Hoodie Doo by Olena Sedalkina. This is a Ukrainian designer, my loved, very much loved one designer. Every time I'm seeing one of her new designs coming out, I'm obeying her, you know, I'm worshipping her existence, because I'll be honest, not many designers like her exist, and I'm actually questioning if someone like her exists at all. She is so special. She is in my heart, in my soul, everywhere. So this is a hoodie I finished recently, and all of the details about this finished objects are going to be in the podcast number 8. Are already there. It's actually posted this August, and if you're interested in all of the experience about this garment, that was such a huge journey, check this video out. I'm going to be leaving the link in the description box as well. A few words why this designer is so special, as I said, and then I speak about the hoodie. She releases very small amount of designs very slowly, but when she releases one, it's just a piece of art in terms of the fit. She only does contiguous saddle shoulder construction, and she improved it to the sky level. I don't know, she experimented so many times. She has a whole YouTube channel actually where she was speaking about those experiments and different theories of how the yokes work in such construction, and eventually after experimenting for so long, she's coming up with a design, and she's not afraid of losing a lot of time on creating a design. Like, I think she doesn't care of how much time it's going to take to create something perfect, and I think it's really rare in today's world where everything is fast. Designs have to come out super quick to, you know, make money and be on top and be recognized and heard. Her designs are making her recognized, and they don't need to be so fastly released to be heard because they're so amazing. And right now I'll finally speak about the hoodie. So it is a Hoodie Doo that has actually male and female version. This is a male version, and it's actually a thin fabric, 23 stitches per 10 centimeters, but I think it's perfect because it's thin but warm at the same time. It's not like fingering weight garment. So depending on the yarn that you're going to choose, it can be a luxurious go out sweater or hoodie, or it could be a super practical harsh hoodie to go to the mountains, again to work in the garden. The recommended yarns are Italian yarns on cone, and since a lot of people don't have access or don't want to explore that type of yarn, which is quite hard, you have to knit with a lot of different strands, you need to find that yarn, and it's like a whole different world. So I would suggest my alternatives. I want to suggest a fancy alternative and a more budget-friendly alternative. So two fancy alternatives, which is La Mana Como, a yarn that I really want to try. Like, the more I speak about it, the more I want to try it. And I also hear constantly really positive reviews of such yarn in the comment section and Instagram, and just from the podcasters here on YouTube. So it is a very nice yarn, and it's actually said on the website that is machine washable, which is nice. So that is one of the fancier versions, because La Mana Como is not so cheap. And even fancier version would be Pasquale Cashmere 628, which is a sport weight yarn, which is actually very similar to Cardiff Cashmere Classic. The reason I'm not going with Cardiff Cashmere Classic is just because I already knitted the whole garment in that yarn, and I'm really curious to try Pasquale Cashmere. The color selection is again so beautiful. That attracts me a lot, and I suggest that you also try that cashmere. I think it's just so gorgeous, and they're very sustainable, so they really care about how the yarn is produced, where it is spun, how it is collected, how the animals are treated, how the people are treated who work for their company, and so on. So that also adds a lot to the cost of the yarn, because this yarn is more expensive than Cardiff Cashmere. And the cheaper alternative I would give is BC Garn Semilla. There's different versions of Semilla, which is Semilla Melange, Semilla Pura, something else, or just these two versions, don't remember. But Semilla Pura is undyed version. It's just different fibers from natural color of the ship spun together. I love undyed versions. I think they're way softer than dyed ones. And Semilla Melange is a colorful version which has a very beautiful melange effect to each colorway. That yarn is quite soft next to skin. It is very nice and it is quite affordable. So that is a nice softer alternative that is not extremely durable because it's still a soft yarn. And one more really harsh alternative that is going to hold up really well is a Norwegian wool 10% by Sadness Garn held together with alpaca feuilletra, which is 100% alpaca, super thin. I think it's 400 meters per 50 grams, and this is this combination I'm wearing right now. It is not the lightest combination, and I did have to knit quite tight. That was a bit harsh on my wrists to achieve the correct gauge. So maybe next time I would go only with 10% on its own. It's going to be way lighter. It's going to have a way more smooth texture to that. So you choose what's the best for you. And just a few words about the construction. It is in top down. You start here without the hood. You knit it completely seamlessly with a lot of short rows, a lot of increases, different things that actually engage you. Then you split for sleeves. You're leaving them on hold. You're knitting the whole body to desired length. Then you're doing this very beautiful folded over cuffs and hem, which takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, but is really beautiful finishing and looks extremely polished. I don't know if you can see. Really beautiful finishings. After I did this finishing, I'm going to apply this to a lot of my other patterns that I'm going to be knitting for myself. I think it looks gorgeous. So that was it about the hoodie. I do hope that you knit it up one day for yourself, and I'm going to be knitting also the female version. I already have the pattern for myself and probably one for my mother in the future. Really nice. Applause to Olena for creating such wonderful things for us. The next sweater is Tarjei Sweater by Sadness Garn. It is a new design that was released in August of 2025, and that's why there are not so many finished works on Ravelry. Overall, I do trust Sadness Garn designs, even though it's a yarn company that produces patterns. It's often the case that when the yarn company produces patterns, they're with mistakes, they're unclear, and people are struggling to knit them up. Not the same, of course, for each yarn company, but it's a lot of times the case. So that's why I'm very careful when I'm thinking to knit something from a yarn company, from the magazine, for example. In this case, as I said, I do try Sadness Garn designs. A lot of people are knitting them up. Even on YouTube, we do have some reviews from knitting Sadness Garn designs. And the only thing I will say is that if you're a complete beginner and if it's one of your first garments or you just knitted one or two garments, I would not suggest maybe jumping into Sadness Garn designs because they're super straightforward, super minimal instructions. And if you don't really roughly know how this construction works, you don't have a lot of experience with this, it may be a struggle for you because you do need a lot of additional details and a lot of referring video tutorials to certain steps. So if you're a beginner, just go with something way more easier like Petite Knits patterns and some other designers that are very clear when it comes to men's constructions. I don't really know any other designer who has a lot of very clear instructions for beginners rather than Petite Knits. So she has a zipper sweater, Monday sweater, Nordland sweater, and so on. I'm not mentioning her in this video because they're super famous patterns and I don't think any of you have missed on her patterns. But right now, let's take a look at this gorgeous zip sweater. There's so many details that attracted me to this design. First of all, the fit. Quite a relaxed fit that feels very cozy and warm due to this very huge and chunky neckline that is going to look beautiful both when it's closed and when it's open. Since it's very high, when you open it, it's going to create this really beautiful opening that I prefer for my zip sweaters, and I just dream to have something similar for myself as well. I don't know if the size range is applicable to my double XS sizing, I don't think so, but I would be so happy to see it on my husband. So it's a very perfect sweater for long walks outside, going to the cold forest, doing a very slow, very relaxed walk in the winter when it's getting really cold, but you're completely wrapped and warmed with this gorgeous sweater. I'm melting when I'm speaking about it because I just can feel how cozy and warm it is. I think if I knit it for him, he hopefully is going to feel similar emotions. Also, I think it's very appropriate for work environment, for the office, because even though it looks quite sporty or more casual like sweater, a lot of detailing makes it very nice. First of all, the ribbing. What kind of ribbing is that? Let me check. 4x1 or 4x2 ribbing, which looks very classic and elegant and adds additional texture that is very slightly visible. And also take a look at the zipper. There is a very beautiful finishing that is actually quite complicated, not complicated, quite high on effort, I would say. I tried this type of finishings on some of the swatches that I was making just to learn. It's not the easiest thing to do, but when you do it, it looks so gorgeous. This finish is one of my favorites for the zipper, even though it is a learning curve for a lot of knitters who never tried this type of finishing, and for me included. And in my opinion, it's really hard to say that is hand knit. I don't know, maybe it's just on the pictures, but of course depending on the yarn and the execution of the whole garment. And now let's speak about the yarn and the construction. So the yarn is 10%, the yarn that I spoke before from this hoodie, but it is just held double. The only thing is just that on Ravelry it says fingering plus fingering results in fingering. I think it could be a mistake. I think fingering plus fingering could result in sport weight or light DK weight yarn. So I like this yarn, as I already said, it's quite durable, super warm, and it is going to hold up for many years, even if he's going to be wearing this every day. Another reason why I would go with this recommendation, if he could tolerate it to the neck, right? Because this is not the softest yarn, it is quite prickly. It is the ribbing, so it's very important to choose the yarn that could look nice in the ribbing, even though it's not 1x1 or 2x2 ribbing, still it is the ribbing. And when we're choosing very explicitly woolen spun yarns or quite messy yarns that are not so structured, not so round, it could result in a messy ribbing. If I had to give an alternative, I would go with a Filcolana Pernilla, which is a Peruvian Highland wool of a sport weight yarn. So it is quite nice, round, and lightweight as well. It is quite soft, not, you know, the softest cashmere-like feel, but way easier to tolerate next to skin than 10%. And now a few words about the construction. This is what actually drew my attention to this garment. So many details. I am dying to have in so many different designs. Unfortunately, most of the designers don't include them because it's complicated, it's not available for beginners. It's complicated to grade, and it's a lot of extra work that is barely noticeable by the average knitter. Most knitters don't notice these details, they don't need these details, and they actually get annoyed by doing a lot of show throws. But I'm that kind of knitter who likes all of these little details, little improvements to polish the garment, to polish the fit, and enjoy it for so many years of wear. So it is knit top down. You start without the neck, just from the back, and you do the show throws to form this trapezoid shape at the back of the sweater. After you're done with this, you're picking up stitches for the right shoulder, and you're doing some show throws to compensate the difference of the seam that is at the back of your shoulder, not on the top, which is quite rare and quite appreciated in the pattern. So when you're done with that, you're casting on stitches for the remaining neck shaping and knitting the front panel down to the armhole. You're doing the same for the left side. You're joining back and the fronts together, knitting down to desired length. After that, picking up stitches for the sleeves, doing some show throws to form the sleeve cap, which is very nice, finishing the sleeves to desired length with 1x1 ribbing, and in the bottom I think is also 1x1 ribbing, and doing the same for the second sleeve. After that, picking up stitches for the neck and doing a lot of show throws to compensate the depth of the neck. So as you can see, the neck is quite high, but also quite deep in the crew neck. I like that. It makes me so happy. I did not see such design yet, especially for men. Really, really beautiful forming of the neckline. And when you're done with that, you're finally doing the finishing for the zipper and the zipper installation. Quite a lot of effort, but I think we're going to learn a lot. I would learn a lot from this design. For example, this hoodie that I knitted taught me a lot of patience, a lot of different skills. And the main feeling that I got from knitting such complicated garment would be not every garment has to be quickly finished to then start another one. Lately, and usually when I started knitting with presence of internet, it is very annoying feeling sometimes that I have to knit fast and that I cannot wait to knit another thing. So when I was knitting for the men such complicated garments, I knew I cannot finish it. I finished this in 10 months. So in the end of the day, I gave up and I just enjoyed the process without even thinking of where is the end. And that was a different feeling for me. I don't feel such things towards my garments because they're knitting up way faster. But right now I'm already way more relaxed about rushing to finish stuff, and this is another project. This garment from Sadness Garden could also teach us to be more relaxed and more patient about our knits. I don't know if that's true about you. It's just my personal perspective on that and my personal feelings. Share with me if you do have such feelings about rushing to finish one knit after another. Maybe I'm just living in my own bubble and it's not true for most people. I'm really curious to know. Drop a comment. The next pattern is again from Ukrainian designer, and I do have a whole another video on Ukrainian knitting patterns available in English. I'm going to put the link in the description box again if you haven't seen that video. It's really worth checking out and supporting Ukrainian designers. I'm also Ukrainian and I feel so nice when I find a pattern that I like and I can speak about it in my video. So this is a braids pattern, cabled pattern. It's called Theory of Braids by Natalia Pelich. So if we look at the braids, they're not smooth, nice cables, so braids that we're used to. They're very harsh and angled. To be honest, I have not seen this type of braids before, and the first time I saw it, the moment when it was out, I messaged immediately the designer asking if I could adjust it to my own size, because I want to knit this for myself. I don't really like matching sweaters, it's not really my theme, so I don't know what should I do, to knit it first for myself or for him. It's really, really beautiful. Maybe I could knit this for my uncle or for my father and knit one for myself. That could be a good solution. So these braids are really interesting, and I do see this sweater in a light color, maybe light gray, really, really light beige, or white color. I think these cables would pop up even better. So while this sweater has braids, it still looks quite harsh and masculine in the way, because the neck is quite high, it's not so wide, and we do have explicit lines that go along the shoulder that also makes the shoulders quite big and angled, which is very handsome and very beautiful. I'm actually thinking right now about the sweater in pink. I need to focus because I need to decide it's either good for men or women. As you can see, I cannot decide because this sweater is quite a unisex pattern, that's true. So what's really good about this designer as well, that she's always releasing design in many sizes, including kids. So you can knit a whole family look if you wish, and that's quite generous because usually designers sell everything separately. In most cases, it actually makes sense to sell designs separately if you really take care of differences between male and female garments. Like Olena Setalkina, for example, designer of this hoodie, creates a completely different new sweater each time she is doing a male or female version. So her designs are really separate and they really take a lot of things into account because her designs are really more fitted to the body and to the shape of the body. This design, for example, like this Theory of Braids sweater, is way more free and relaxed, and maybe there it's okay to use it both for male and female. What I really like about this design as well is this very beautiful contiguous shoulder, like these saddle shoulders that are gradually expanding to the width and then very gradually going down to the armhole, and the armhole is also quite deep. So very beautiful tailored look. To me it looks like a store-bought from a luxurious boutique sweater, and I cannot tell that it was hand knitted, to be honest, even though I'm a knitter. What also makes it look so firm and finished is the 2x2 ribbing, or 2x1, I don't know, I think it's 2x2. This ribbing is flowing from the braids, both in the neckline, as you can see, it starts like 2x2 rib, then flows into those braids, and it finishes in the same exact way, which is so beautiful. I like this type of things. And if you have some sort of obsessive mind, just like I do about the details, it is going to make you feel so satisfied and so happy. It is knit with a sport weight yarn with 26 stitches per 10 centimeters in cabled pattern. And the recommended yarn is again Italian Yarn & Cone Cariaggi Piuma, a DK weight yarn. I think it's a sport weight yarn rather than a DK, but I don't think a lot of people again have access to that yarn, so I would give my own suggestion. I would knit it with, again, I'm sorry, but again, Lamana Como. It is very, very appropriate yarn for men's patterns because it is machine washable, it is extremely lightweight, it is way more lightweight than most of other merino yarns, and the colors are nice and the quality is good because it's also a German company, German quality. Or another suggestion that is way more harsh and hard wearing, but a bit more prickly to the skin, quite more prickly to the skin, Isair Jensen. I'm knitting with this yarn right now a sweater for myself, and it's quite prickly to my skin. I can't really tolerate it, But again, I'm a sensitive person, so maybe a man could easily do that, or it is intended to wear something underneath, could also work. The thing with ISEO Jensen, it is first, it's actually mentioned DK weight yarn, but I do think that is light DK weight or sport weight. And the thing with that is that ISEO, the company, really combined the fibers to make it lightweight. They intended this yarn to be lightweight. And when it comes to men's sweater, that is huge, that is even with deep armholes and with the braids, is extremely important as for me to choose lightweight yarn. The way you knit it is top down, completely seamlessly in the round. That is all I had in the description, but I think you're just increasing for the front and for the back. I don't know at what frequency and how, but the construction looks very smart and beautiful. I again would not suggest this pattern for beginners because first, cables and a lot of commitment, and second to that, the description is quite clear with a lot of details, sizing and so, but it's not a native English speaker and we did not see a very explicit description, for example, like in Olana's patterns. I do like this designer and I did see a lot of English versions, not in this specific pattern, but overall from this designer. But again, I don't think it's good for beginners. If you're intermediate or even advanced knitter, for sure, you're going to be completely fine with this. And if you need this pattern, please show me the picture. You can message me on Instagram and send me the picture. I would like to see the result. And now I'm going to speak about another hoodie that is actually very suitable for a beginner knitter or for a knitter that doesn't want to take a lot of effort or brain work or patience to create a garment. It is a salt hoodie by Vert Knit, a designer that has created a very famous Melodies dress. So it is very clear, very nicely described, has a lot of instructions for different body types, different heights, different frames of the body, which is very nice. You can actually tailor this specific garment to your own body shape. I don't see many designers doing that as well, which is very desired, but I of course understand how much effort it takes. Luckily, this design has this opportunity. This type of hoodie could be worn at home, which is very cozy, warm and nice. Very nice to just go out to walk with a dog or go for a walk again, or just feel nice and cozy on the couch watching a movie. And this is the vibes that it gives me. I don't really see it wearing to work. I mean, in my case, I don't see it very like fancy, elegant and going out for a nice date, but it is a very warm, nice and squishy hoodie to just feel cozy and warm. Had to put the light, is getting dark already. So the stitch gauge is quite thick, 18 stitches per 10 centimeters, which results in quite a nice, warm, thick fabric. And that's why it's extremely important to also make sure you don't choose a heavy yarn if you don't want this hoodie to just, you know, fall off the body with weight. The hoodie is knit on 4.5mm needles, and one of the yarn recommendations is Mondim by Retrosaria Rosa Poma, held together with Alpaca 1 from ISEO. Mondim is a very nice Portuguese wool, and I do have this in my stash, a gift from my friend. I cannot wait to knit with this, and it feels so good. At least in the ball, it feels so good that once I went to their website and I checked all of the yarn that exists, and now I have a lot of ideas what can I knit with that yarn, and it just has a very nice, interesting feel to that. It smells very nice, slightly like a sheep, which I really like as well. And I think they are really great quality, and they do follow a lot of nice yarn production standards, which is important to me. So another thread is alpaca lace, 100% alpaca from ISEO. Never touched it, I don't know how soft it is. It's going to be the same effect like I'm wearing right now, because this one is also fingering plus alpaca lace. If you want some very soft alpaca, I do suggest that you try Pasquale alpaca lace, baby alpaca, and that alpaca should feel way softer than these ones. It is a royal type of alpaca, and it is selected to be really soft. I'm going to be also leaving the link to that alpaca in the description box. So I spoke actually about this alpaca in my mohair substitutes video. Check this out, I posted it very recently. If you can't tolerate mohair or you want some alternatives, that video could be very interesting for you to watch. So this hoodie is knitted top down seamlessly. You start without the hood, just at the neckline, and you continuously increase for both front and the back, just like a normal saddle shoulder. After that, you're increasing for the sleeves, already doing the yoke back and front, always back and front, because this is an open zip hoodie. Then splitting for sleeves, knitting flat to desired length, picking up the sleeves, knitting them to desired length as well. There should be a lot of video instructions for you to refer to. That's why I'm saying it's quite beginner friendly. And after that, you're picking up stitches for the hood and you knit it bottom up. Actually, in this hoodie, that I'm wearing from Olena, I didn't mention that there you need hood tone down and then you attach it here with quite a complicated but looking nice stitch, which is not for beginners at all. In this case, the sold hoodie is completely beginner friendly as for me and knitted way more easy. Looks way less tailored and serves kind of different purpose, as I already mentioned. So depending on what you like, you can already choose between these two patterns. Do you want more challenge and more of learning curves and more tailored firmed fit, or you want a more relaxed, headache-free, fast knit that is going to serve the purpose really well as well? You choose what you like the most. I've got one more pattern to mention right now and two more patterns to mention that are still in testing, that are going to be out in a few months or I don't know when, because they do take time. So the pattern I want to mention is still again from Olena Sedalkina, from the Hoodies designer, that is called Kruglik Jumper. I already have these two patterns in my library because it's really nice. You can purchase two patterns at the same time for a cheaper price. So Kruglik means something rounded. We actually ate a lot of these rounded bread crumbs in my childhood. Maybe the name comes from there. And the reason it's called like that because the round neck is so round and so perfect that is really hard to repeat and quite hard to create with the saddle shoulder construction, because every time you're doing the turn in the shoulder row to form this beautiful round neck, you're expanding the width, and you do have to be quite tricky to not create huge shoulders in the width and still do a very beautiful round neck, and to not make it in a scoop version or in a squared version, to like really make sure that it's super rounded. It does take a lot of effort. So she was able to create it, and this sweater could be completely timeless. Like, it looks so bold and basic that you can do anything with this. Again, just like our first design from our list, you can knit your basic piece and then you can make many different ones with different features in different yarn. This is what I'm going to do probably, because I want to knit one for myself, one for my mother. I already actually have the yarn, and just keep on knitting for my husband, for my father, and so on. It fits super perfect. It is different male and female version, because female version does have bust darts and there's different relation between front and the back. A lot of different things were taken into account to create these two different versions. So this pullover is also quite relaxed, not so oversized, but not close to your body. And the armhole is deep enough for you to not sweat into the garment, which is quite important. What is also incredible about this design is that we can do different finishings. In the original sample, we can see 1x1 rib that has this very beautiful pearl row in the bottom. That's because you're knitting the body separately from the neckline. And then you can choose any neckline that you want, because on her YouTube channel, she has different tutorials for different finishings. The way you knit it is completely seamless top down. It is a saddle shoulder construction. You start at the back doing short rows and a lot of different increases for forming the back of the yoke and the increases for the front and for the back. After that, you're already going back and forth to form this beautiful round neck. And then you keep on knitting with the sleeves, increasing both for the sleeves, for the body, and already casting on stitches here and the neck, and then splitting for sleeves here and the body, doing the body to desired length, doing the sleeve, and then finally doing the neckline. There is no explicit recommended yarn, and she just suggests you what type of fibers you can use for this project. And in my case, as I already said, I would go with quite a fancy yarn for this project because it requires a lot of effort and it doesn't look so, casual that you can wear on your couch. It looks like you could wear it to the office to work, to go for a date, to go for certain events, and just have this garment as a special one in the wardrobe. That's why, again, I would go with Pasquale Cashmere 628. The gauge fits perfectly, and it is going to be such a memorable project because you will enjoy a lot knitting with that yarn. It is so soft, so nice, so fluffy, and the colors are so beautiful. If you want something a bit more budget friendly but still feels very nice and high quality and soft to the skin, I think 2 strands of knitting for olive merino would work perfectly as well. And thanks to the gorgeous color selection, there's a lot of choices for the men to choose from. So while the whole knitting community constantly speaks about this yarn and a lot of people are getting tired of it, I understand. It is quite boring to constantly hear the same thing over and over again. I hear you. I'm that type of person. person, but I think it's a gorgeous yarn. I do have it in stash. I studied a project for this and I did a lot of different swatches for different projects. I did not wear it yet, but I can already feel and know from my experience that it's going to be a gorgeous yarn. It is really well made and the colors are beautiful. It is really smartly priced as well, and they follow a lot of different standards, including one of the highest Okotex standards, which is quite hard to achieve for a lot of yarn companies. That's why I also appreciate this yarn so much. So two test knits that are running right now is a Rebertsia sweater from Olena Setalkin as well, the same designer. I spoke about the female version in my July knitting pattern roundup. Check this out if you want a lot of details on that sweater. But right now she's designing the male version, and she's actually sharing a lot of details about her designing process on Instagram. It is in Ukrainian, but you can just put translate and just read through. It is very interesting, and I'm glad for her that she shares that with us, because you can actually see how much effort it takes. You cannot just take a female version and grade it to a bigger size. She actually has to reknit a lot of times the garments to achieve the fit that she wants, and to change a lot of ratios, the neckline ratio towards the shoulders and so on. So it's interesting to see, and she's creating the male version right now. I don't know when it's going to be out, but it's really beautiful. It is also a saddle shoulder, of course, her favorite construction, and I personally can't wait for this pattern to be out, because I would knit it maybe not for my husband, but for my father. He's going to really like that sweater. Also, Natalie Pilich from the Theory of Braids sweater that we spoke today about, she's doing the zipper sweater. Quite a relaxed zipper with a deep armhole, with quite a big fit, but with gorgeous details like this neckline, the details of the zipper, and the whole idea of the sweater is just looks gorgeous and wonderful. If you like this type of relaxed fit on the men, and if your man would like to wear this type of sweater, I suggest that you follow her on Instagram and just follow through the process so you can be aware when she's releasing the pattern. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm so excited. I don't know why I'm so excited constantly. So the only thing I hope for is that you're also so excited just like I am, and you chose something for yourself from this list. Please let me know what you're knitting right now, what's on your needles. And if you like what you just saw, you can subscribe to my channel and press the notification bell button, so when the new video is out, you can be notified immediately and enjoy watching. Thank you very much for being here. I hope you enjoy your cold weather knits, and I'm hoping to see you soon in my next video.